Hey guys, in this lesson we are going to learn about layer masks. A layer mask allows you to remove an effect off of a specific part of an image without having to use the eraser tool. When you use the eraser tool, if you mess up, you have to go all the way back here through your history and go back and start all over from the step where you didn't make the mistake. With a layer mask, you can just simply paint on the layer mask with the opposite color of as the layer mask, and put the effect right back onto the image. This is useful when you are painting on solid white backgrounds or solid black backgrounds, or like we're going to do in this example, using a texture. So because we're using a texture, we're going to go ahead and not duplicate this layer, because with a texture, it is basically like another image or a scrapbook, a digital scrapbook piece of paper. It's just an image or a design, and you just put it over the top of your image. So what we're going to do is we're going to go File, Place, and I'm just going to grab this one. These were my daughter's Valentine's Day pictures, and so I got this little background as a freebie from, I believe it was Pure Actions for photographers. But it just has some little Valentine's Day words on the back of it, and I just kind of wanted it to have it to add to the background of the image. So as you can see, it came in pretty small. I'm just going to stretch it out. I have heard from others that if you stretch it out to a different size, that it can decrease the quality of it. I've never had that issue. I've printed these up to a 16 by 20 and never had a loss of quality, but I guess that's a personal preference. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and stretch it out. So I'm going to hit Shift to keep my the ratio of it all the same size, and I'm just going to pull it. Even if it goes over the edges, that's okay. We just want it to fill that layer. And then you're going to hit Enter. And then you can see it's over the top of the image. What you're going to do is you're going to adjust the opacity. Right now it's at 100% opacity. And we want to be able to see this cute little thing right here. So I'm going to bring it down. I'm not going to bring it down so far as to like how I would have it when I'm done with the image. I want it to stay at like 50% because this makes it easier for me to brush it off of her skin. Normally, I'd like it to be about, I'd say 30% is where I'm probably going to keep it, but I'm going to bump it up just so that I can really still see it on her. Okay, now this is the fun part. This is called a layer mask. This little square down here with the little white circle in the center of it, this is a layer mask. And when you click on it, you want to make sure that you're on the layer that you want the mask to end up on. So we want it to end up on the texture. So I'm going to click on it, and it brings up this little white box on the side. And you can see that the box is highlighted. You can click back on the actual layer. I have no idea what I just did. Oh, I don't know what I did at all. But I double tapped something. Oh, okay. I apparently made a new texture. Okay, that was weird. You can click on this layer, or you, if you ever needed to make an edit on that first, but this is what you want to be highlighted in order to erase it off of something. When your layer mask is white, you're going to use a black brush. So we're going to come over here and we are going to look at our color palette and make sure that black is on the top. If your black is not on the top, you are going to use your X key on your keyboard or these little arrows up here, and you're going to simply, X key or these arrows will simply change it from top to bottom. We want black because your layer mask is white. So in order to erase the texture off of her skin, we need a black brush. So we're going to come up here and we're going to select our brush. I hit B on my keyboard. You can also just click on the icon, that's up to you. This is the opacity, and in some instances, you're going to use your brush at 100% opacity. In some instances, you're going to use your brush at 18% opacity or 20. It just depends on what we're doing. But for this tutorial, I do not want any of this texture on her skin. I want it to be the background. So what I'm going to do is I use my bracket keys and I make my brush fairly large because I'm just going to kind of work around most of the bigger parts of the image and get this off of her skin. And once I get it off of the main parts of her skin, I will then make my brush smaller, and I'm going to zoom in by hitting Control and the plus sign, and I can come in here and I'm going to get these the more detailed spots. I can't stress enough how important it is to pay attention to those tiny little details. Just zoom in your picture and get your brush nice and small and get around these edges. You can see that I'm taking that off of that shadow right there on the side of her cheek right there. You might not notice it as much when you are just looking on your screen, but I can promise you if you print that and you left that texture on there, it would stand out big time. So always make sure that you're really paying attention to those little details and making sure you're really going around those edges, and don't get too close. But the good thing about this is a good time to show you that you can fix it if you do. You can see I've actually got a little close to the edge. You can see it starting to, you can see this little halo happening right here. I'm going to take a bigger part off so that you can see it a little bit better. But let's just say we made a pretty big mistake here. You can switch your brush. Now we're going to switch our brush back to white. You can do this by pushing this or by, again, pressing your X key. This is the same color as the layer mask, so white is going to add the effect back to the image. Black erases, white adds. So I'm just going to go over the part that I made the mistake on, and it fixes it for us without us having to use that eraser tool and having to go back in your history and correct it. When you're done fixing the area that you need to fix, you can just simply hit your X key, switch back to black, and continue erasing the effect off of the image in the places that you wanted. Okay, so for me, we're gonna be good for right now. Just for the sake of the tutorial, I'm not getting too long here. I'm extremely OCD about it being perfect, so I'm gonna stop right now before I just keep going. Okay, so as you can see now, the background, the texture is only on the background and not on her skin. For me, this is too much in the background. I don't want it to be the focal point of my image. I want it to be, you know, just kind of enhancing the image. So I'm gonna bring it down to about 29. We'll leave it at like 30%. And that's how you would do that. When you're done with a layer that has a layer mask on it, or when you're done with that section, I go ahead and I merge visible layers, and then I start with the next edit. That probably is something that I would do at the very end of all of my editing, adding that texture like that. But I didn't edit this. I pulled it right out of RAW. So we are going to learn another instance where you can use that layer mask really quick. And this time, we're actually going to be physically making a change to the image. So we need to hit Control-J or right-click and duplicate layer. And we are going to use the clone tool. So with the clone tool, we are going to select the clone tool by going here, or you can hit S on your keyboard and I guess it's for clone stamp, because I think that's the original name of the tool, but either way, get you the clone tool. We want the clone tool to be at 100% opacity for this. There are some instances where you want to use your clone tool at a lower opacity, but for this I want it to be at 100%. I'm going to zoom in quite a ways just so that you can really see. She's got this little sore on her lip, and I'm just going to get rid of it. I am going to grab my Alt key and I'm going to select an area that's very close to that spot. I'm going to grab from over here. Actually, I can see that there's kind of a light reflection right there, and I don't want that to go all over her lip. So I'm going to grab right here and I'm going to tap down, or click down if you have a mouse, and then you're just going to paint over this area with the clone brush and fill in the area, and as you can see, it's gone. Well, let's just say we accidentally went too far and made a big mistake and now her lips are gone. Okay, you just have to come down here, grab your layer mask, make sure that it's selected, make sure you have a black brush, and make sure you hit B on your keyboard or switch back to your brush at 100%, and you're going to paint over the areas that you made the mistake, and everything will go back to normal. There you go. You can then switch your brush back, and we can just fill back in this little spot right here, and you are done. So as you can see, the layer mask is a huge time saver. It's just a super awesome little tool to have in Photoshop, and I wouldn't ever edit without it. So I thought it was a good thing for you guys to learn right off the bat, because I just remember how frustrated I used to get when I had to hit that edit undo button, because I used to work with Elements, and then when I got into CS6 I had the history thing, but that was just still just as big of a pain. So layer masks are amazing. Flatten your image when you're done, file, save, and save it how you want, and then you are done. Good to go. So I think that's going to complete our lesson for tonight, and we will have another one here shortly. Thanks, guys.